So I'm sure there are videos out there on the top favorite monsters, but there aren't very many of them from what I've seen. At least, not many top 10 ones specifically. And some of you guys on my Discord server have wanted me to do one, so that's what we're doing in today's video. I am ReaverJolt, and today, this is my top 10 favorite monsters in Monster Hunter. Now before we get started, I want to mention that this is a list of my favorite monsters, not a best monsters list, so keep that in mind. Also, if there isn't a monster that you like on my favorites list, don't fret about it. Everyone has different tastes in what they like in Monster Hunter, so don't get upset if what you like is not on my list. Also, there's an honorable mention, White Monoblos. I love White Monoblos. He's so cool and I love how he looks like a Styracosaurus. And I love when he's in rage mode because part of the frill turns red. The only reason it's not on my top 10 list is because I wish he did more unique things than Diablos or Black Diablos. That's really it. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the list. Number 10, Shrieking Legiana. I liked Legiana a little. It was never really a favorite of mine, but when its variant came around, I was kinda mixed about it until I experienced it for the first time. I gotta say, fighting the Shrieking version is so much fun. And I love the Shrieking weapons. And the armor is definitely something I'll be layering over my armor once Master Rank Layered Armor comes out. I love the design and the features, especially on the head. I love the fact that his materials are considered obsidian. That to me makes it so much cooler. The reason it's not higher on the list is because in my opinion, the color scheme could be better. At least in terms of the parts that aren't the obsidian color, the other colors just don't blend well with it in my opinion. I would have liked all of its body to be that obsidian color. Plus, I'm disappointed that we don't have a charge blade for the thing. I'm probably asking too much, but anyways, I love this monster and its design. Number 9, UKANLOS. Now I may be butchering the name, but I find it easier to say UKANLOS instead of UKANLOS. That aside, I like this monster because it looks awesome, and on top of that, the deep impending roar is it's just epic. I also like the fight too, apart from the whole chase you down like a shark gimmick. I like that it can jump despite its size and weight. I also like the ice beam it uses. I like the shovel face and the overlapping spikes on its back. The design is just so cool. The only real thing I don't like about UKANLOS is the extremely limited weapon types on the roster, and they aren't that great in looks or stats either. But other than that, this is a really cool monster. Number 8, Grimclaw Tigrex. Now for a while, I was considering putting Brute Tigrex on this list, mostly because I love the roar from 4 Ultimate and the color scheme is quite good. However, there's another iteration of Tigrex I've grown to love so much more. It's Grimclaw Tigrex. Now I won't lie, when I first knew about Grimclaw, I thought he was a butchered version of Molten Tigrex. But when I actually fought it, I ate my words in seconds. This is probably the most fun version of all the Tigrex to me. The attacks he does are just awesome and the weapons you get from him are also good too. The only thing I don't like is that some of the colors are the same from the original. And while the roar is awesome, it's not as intense as the ones from 4 Ultimate like Brute Tigrex or Molten Tigrex. I would have preferred the colors on Grimclaw to be all blue instead of some blue, but regardless, this Tigrex has grown on me a lot, and I have grown to appreciate it so much. Number 7, Chameleos. This is probably one of the more unique Elder Dragons. I love reptiles, and the fact that we have a monster that's based on a chameleon makes this even better. Now some of you will disagree with me about this monster because it's annoying for most people, like how it can poison you and steal your stuff. But just because it can do those things doesn't make it a bad monster. In fact, this is one of the better monsters in terms of its difficulty. It's challenging, yes, but in a way that's unique and interesting that motivates you to keep fighting it. Well, at least in my experience. It's not like many of the other Elder Dragons in terms of its attack pattern. Most of the time, Chameleos is unpredictable, and that's what makes it interesting and unique. Chameleos is definitely one worthy of my favorites list, although I wish he was in Monster Hunter World. Number 6, Shigaru Magala. Some of you watching saw this one coming. I'm just gonna say it, Shigaru Magala has the most epic fight in all of Monster Hunter. His fight is epic, his music is epic, and he's such a cool monster. You see guys, what makes this monster and his fight stand out from most is that unlike most other monsters, this is a showdown, and it's not just any showdown. It's a showdown that involves a rivalry between you and Shigaru. When he sees you for the first time and recognizes that you beat him when he was a Gormagala, the build up to this fight is what made it a masterpiece. Now you guys may be wondering why I didn't put Shigaru higher on the list. There's a couple reasons. First off, I don't like parts of his design. What happened to that tail? Did it shrink when he molted? Also, there's too many spikes. And second, I cannot like the lore behind the Frenzy Virus. I won't tell you guys about it, but I'll just say if you want to know more about it, just look it up. But despite those downsides, I still like Shigaru Magala enough to put him on this list. Number 5. HELLBLADE GLAVENUS. HELLBLADE GLAVENUS is a monster that I've grown an appreciation for, and I think the reason for that is because I've always liked it, but not in the way that you might think. See, I've always liked this monster, but I've never considered it my favorite when he first came out. Now, if you guys watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I have mixed feelings for Acidic Glavenus and Iceborne. Now, there's nothing wrong with Acidic Glavenus, it's just that when I fight Acidic Glavenus, the fight is indeed unique, but I'll always have more fun fighting HELLBLADE GLAVENUS. And that sparked my interest for it even more, and to the point where it's become one of my favorite monsters. On top of that, I love its design and I love the tail when it's in blast mode. The design is just so cool. I never really took the time to farm his stuff, but knowing that he's now one of my favorites, I think I will. Number 4. Glacial Ignactor. Glacial Ignactor is probably, in my opinion, the best subspecies in the franchise. It's different enough from its normal counterpart and the design is fantastic. Now, I do talk about this monster a little more in a collaboration I did with my friend Gorguini, which, by the way, you should check out his channel. He makes some great Monster Hunter content. But basically what makes this monster unique is that it's an ice monster that not only does ice attacks, but also water attacks as well. And the longer he stays out of the ground, the softer he gets, whereas the normal one gets harder the longer he stays surfaced. Once you break the ice off its body, which is by no means an easy task, you see his colors and they are gorgeous. This is my favorite subspecies and it definitely earned a high spot on this list. Number 3. Abyssal Legiacris. My first game in the franchise that I was introduced to was Monster Hunter Tri. The monster from that game that will always stick with me is Legiacris. But I never liked his color scheme much, and when 3 Ultimate came out, Legiacris got a subspecies and a rare species. When I saw the rare species, Abyssal Legiacris, I wanted to fight it so bad, but because I didn't have much time back then, I never got around to doing it until 4 Ultimate got announced. Then I had to fight every single monster available in 3 Ultimate before I played the next game. Then when I finally got to Abyssal Legiacris, I instantly loved it. Yes, he was hard with the underwater mechanics, but despite that, he was still fun. At least for me. On top of that, he has some of the best weapon designs in the game. Oh, and did I forget to mention his top-notch color scheme? Even his lightning turns black when he does his electric discharge. Now, the reason he's not higher on the list is because I don't get to hunt him much at all, and with it somehow being unobtainable in Monster Hunter Stories, it just didn't help. It's kinda weird to me that he's not available in Stories because a majority of the rare species in that game are obtainable as monsties. And the fact that he's only available in 1 game has always been a bummer. But he's good enough to be on this list, especially in the number 3 spot. Number 2. Valstrax. At first, I was considering putting Namielle on this list because of its beautiful design, and when I fought it for the first time, I thought it was my new favorite Elder Dragon. Until I remembered Valstrax, in which case Namielle didn't even make the list. Valstrax has become my favorite Elder Dragon of all time. The design is over the top, which is something I love in an Elder Dragon. The fight itself is amazing and the theme song is great. In fact, he comes so close to the top of the list that I almost wanted to rebrand my channel, which I didn't. His weapons and armor have fantastic designs as well. There's really not much more I could say. Valstrax is that good. But there's one monster that will likely always be at the top. Number 1. Bolt Reaver Astalos. Most, if not all of you guys knew this one was coming. Bolt Reaver Astalos is my all-time favorite monster. It takes everything I love about the original Astalos and makes it better. When I first fought it, it was in a normal charged state from what I saw at the time, and the more I fought it, it changed to a cyanish blue color, bringing it to its fully charged state. The things I never saw coming were the lightsaber horn and the magnetic energy ball that pulls you in as he comes at you. This fight is fun no matter how many times I face it. Although sometimes if you time things wrong, you can die instantly from its energy horn. But the challenge is what makes this fight so much fun for me. Plus, ever since I love this monster, I wanted to make it the mascot for my YouTube channel, but I felt it wouldn't be appropriate unless I beat him first. So that's what I did for my first video. I beat Bolt Reaver Astalos for the first time, and it was actually my first victory over a deviant. At the time, I was too lazy to hunt deviants, and when I beat Bolt Reaver as my first deviant, it was so satisfying. The number 1 spot likely won't change, so he'll be around for a long time. Now, if there was one thing I wish Capcom did was to make the charge blade design for him unique. It's still cool, but it would have been nice if it got the same treatment as the Bolt Reaver dual blades. Those are like the best looking dual blades in my opinion. Overall, I really love the design for Bolt Reaver Astalos, and it has become my number 1 favorite monster in Monster Hunter. Thank you very much for watching. I'm honestly not sure how well this video will do considering favorite list videos don't do too well on YouTube, but I'm glad I made this list anyway. Remember, if there wasn't a monster on this list that you wanted to see, sorry to disappoint. If you would like to see more like this, consider liking the video, consider subscribing and hitting the bell to keep up with my uploads. Be kind to one another, and have a most wonderful day.